Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast where we look at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I am here with both Tyler Jones and Glenn Willis, and we are recording hours into free agency. And Glenn, what do you think of where we are so far with the Hawks bringing back Landale and keeping most things the same?
Yeah, everything I'm hearing on X is like, oh, they're running it back. It's the same team. Well, this team was pretty good the last couple of months of the season last year. I know the offense didn't scale in the postseason against the Knicks. That's a real thing that happened, and it's okay to acknowledge that. The Landale contract, I think some people raised some eyebrows for some people that it was that much money. But at the same time, like Ansi has proven since he's taken over that he is focused on short-term contracts, not long-term contracts. And if the Celtics, for example, drop their asking price for Jaylen Brown, can honestly stack up enough contracts to make that happen, right? The broader league is trying to figure out if Ant is going to ask out of Minnesota. Everything I hear from my people in Minnesota is like that's not a thing, but you never know. But Ansi's stacking up, CJ contract, a Landale contract, a Buddy contract, so there's he's landing all these 1 year deals that could, if something materializes, help you stack up something that could, make one of those things materialize. How realistic is that? How probable is that? I don't really know. But like since he's taken over, he's been focused on short term money, short term contracts to give himself flexibility. That's what we're seeing, I think, so far here.
We got to be a little bit careful there because with Landale coming back on a 1 year deal for a veteran, when you make that kind of 1 year signing, there's an implicit no trade clause that's sort of the default. One
Yeah.
thing that can happen, and might be part of the reason the number went up, is to get him to agree to waive that at the outset, which can happen. So it might be we got to find out, but it might be a tradable, stackable kind of uh, contract.
Yeah, very true. And like I said, that's the bigger number than I expected for his contract. But like I said, Ansi's probably trying to kind of figure out like how do I have short-term money I can move off the roster if there is a top 15 player in the league that is wanting to force his way out of wherever he's playing right now. That's me guessing. I mean, I have to admit that's just me guessing. But I again, short-term contracts to move for a top 15, 20 player in the league if that opportunity materializes. That's what I'm guessing is what he's kind of trying to put together.
And even if it's not a tradable thing, it's also a situation where, like, yes, some of these 1 year contracts, like Buddy coming back, Landale, like these are all deals that either expire or can be expired with a team option. So there will be flexibility if they want it, even without a trade.
Yeah, yeah, and don't forget Denver's got to come off with one, maybe two players that they have on their team right now. So I think he's being opportunistic. He's kind of sitting back and see who's bumping up against the apron, who's bumping up against attacks, who has to shed a good player. Can we jump in and kind of make that materialize? I think he's crafty, and I think that's probably what he's trying to navigate right now. So
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point. Like if at any time there's like a 1 year contract, if you've already lost the flexibility to sign free agents because you get above the cap, like whether or not those numbers go up really isn't like a hindrance because it's short-term money. What do you think of what's happened with the Hawks here, Tyler?
Well, with Jock in particular, I think the Hawks got caught. He had a bigger market than they realized. I think other teams realized that he played too well for the Hawks. Like ultimately, he played too well. He played out of the range that they ideally would have liked to pay him at, and because that happened, it led to a couple of dominoes. One, it led to I thought uh, bringing Buddy back on his contract because they recognized they weren't even going to be in the mid-level exception game anymore. So I think to me they were like, all right, that's one more additional tradable, contract that we can go with. I they them getting Devin Carter was probably a pivot for some bigger deal. They're like, we'll take the talent and we'll add him, another contract and another lottery ticket to go, in terms of talent. But I overall, I'm happy with what the Hawks did. Were they're not in a rush. That's something I think fans of the team need to understand. Like they're in a good position right now, and they're in a position where they can wait and see how other teams are reacting, and then potentially strike later with when they might potentially have more leverage going forward. So to me, I'm fine with what the Hawks have done. The Landale is pretty similar to CJ, where you overpay for a year. We'll see if it's tradable or not, but again, it's very clear that NBA teams were hunting for like proven quality big man talent to
Yeah.
to play on their roster, and the Hawks I think had to overpay them in order to keep them off the market. They had to overpay to keep them off the market, so that no team X, you can't just throw your biannual and take them away from us. We're gonna overpay, keep them here. We're at this point we're really just more concerned about the luxury tax than anything else, and we're plenty clear now that we let go of Kuminga, which I think was the big casualty because of how much they had to pay. Um, Landale, I think that just took him out of the Kuminga business altogether. So it's kind of like a domino effect of we need Landale. Like that's the thing. I think Aussie organization was like, we can't have what happened last year happen again. We need a proven caliber backup big man at all times, or just in quality talent. That's why we went and got the seer in the draft and drafted Zuby, like as well. Like we need the talent in the building. We cannot have a 2 to 3 month stretch of basketball where we have one center on our roster. That can never happen again. So I think Landale again, he, I mean, for what the Hawks paid him, like remember all it took for the Hawks to acquire Jock Landale was cash, and he clearly overperformed that. Other teams missed out on a good player, and the Hawks lucked into getting him. So I do think Hawks fans need to like take the whole picture with Landale and be like, 14 mil for 1 year is probably what he's worth to the rest of the league. You're not getting any surplus value on the deal, but it for what he provides. Like to me, I think it's a good deal.
Yeah, he fits what they do offensively with the shooting, and he's physical on defense. I know he's not a rim protector, and we know that, right? But he fights for rebounds and he tries to hold his ground and all that stuff. And for a backup, I think that's what you're looking for, someone who go in and like we've talked about so many times, like Onyeka's playing against a Jokic or an Embiid or whatever, and you don't want Onyeka to have to play like 30 minutes against those huge senders. Jock could go in there, use his 4 or 5 fouls, and let Onyeka play against other teams second big, in that sense. Jock brings a lot of value in that way, I think.
So, in terms of the things that happened since the last time we talked, the Hawks, as Tyler was discussing a moment ago, declined to pick up the option on Jonathan Kuminga. Do you think that means that they're out of the Kuminga business altogether? Is there a market for him? And maybe is it just as simple as they're off of Kuminga, except for maybe working themselves into some kind of sign and trade? Like, what do you think is going to be the ultimate end of all of this?
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I don't know that there's going to be a great market for Kuminga. And I mean, a little kind of secret is that his agent's not the strongest agents. So that's interesting to me. I think Jake Fisher said on a lot on his Bleacher Report thing today that the Bucks had some interest in Kuminga. But again, I don't think there's going to be a robust market for him. I think he probably wants to start. I actually like what he brought to the Hawks last year down the stretch, his athleticism, his ability to kind of move defensively, work in transition. We talked about all that sort of stuff. But the half court offense, like he got dropped into the Hawks system in the middle of the season with like zero opportunity to acclimate. And so I think, so it's gonna be interesting to see if they can get him on a short-term deal, a 2 year deal for whatever number. Do they still have the cap space for that? Is that still there? Do they need to move Buddy? to make that happen? What is it? Does some team have a trade exception that money can be moved into to create space to afford Kuminga? Those are all things I think Auntie's probably trying to work through. But I value his athleticism, his ability to function in transition, his ability to trap on defense, and all that sort of stuff. But I think that I just think there's not going to be a robust market for him financially out there, unless it's a bad team who has a ton of cap space. The Kuminga has decided, do I want to go play for a bad team, or do I want to play for a team that's trying to take the next step? That'll be a decision that he has to make himself with his representation.
What do you think about that one, Tyler?
I don't know. It's hard to judge, considering that the Hawks are what, like 15 mil away from the luxury tax. That's probably as much as they're willing to pay, and they might not even be willing to pay that much. So I just think he's out of the price range now, unless the Hawks do something else. And I don't see it. I think again, I'm with Kevin. I mean, I'm with Glenn. I like what Kaminga brought. Uh, but we've talked about how they want to play Asa more. I just
Yeah.
think, at the end of the day, I
Yep.
think the Hawks look at Kaminga. They're like, he doesn't have a starting spot on this team, so we're better off what we're paying Ricochet and Asa to fill in the same role. Like, it's probably similar value ultimately. Um, and besides, like, I don't think they want. I think Kaminga is not a great fit next to Flemings, just because of what Flemings needs around him, what they might want to use him as. So I just think that it's a confluence of things. Again, if the Hawks could have got Kaminga on a good deal, they would have did it. I don't think Kaminga's in a situation where he wants to take less. I think he wants to start somewhere. And like, I think the Hawks were like, well, we think you're a power forward and our best player is Jalen Johnson. So that's not happening. And so I think I would assume Kuminga's going to find another team. He's going to have an interesting market. I don't know if he has one, but one might develop depending on the teams that ultimately miss out on their targets. There's always going to be a team that misses out. So I think he's going to be able to get some value for his endeavor. But he provided what the Hawks needed in the short term. So like, to me, it was still a good trade considering Porzingis' unavailability. But I do think the fit concerns were real, particularly in the half court, and we saw in the playoffs. Like, it was a struggle. It was a real struggle once the Knicks got the Hawks out of transition with him in the half court. So I just think the Hawks want to transition away from guys like that going forward, and they probably feel that Asa can replicate a lot of what Kuminga did last year on a cheaper deal.
Yeah, for like 20% of the cost contract wise. So I mean, I don't think they should be blocking Asa next year. I think Asa should be in the rotation next year. Yeah, I fully believe in him. I can't wait to watch him in summer league. He probably only plays for, I don't know, probably plays 5 games, something like that across the two summer leagues. Maybe he'll play more than that. We'll see. But I'm a huge believer in Asa.
Fair. Uh, Tyler, tell the people about Devin Carter. What are we looking at here?
Um, he like defensive first guard, struggles to shoot. Uh, Very athletic though, long arms, plays super physical. To me, he's kind of like, to me, he's not. I don't know if he's going to be as have the breakout year that Dyson Daniels did, and I don't think he's as good as Dyson Daniels, but he can offer a similar. Like, if Daniels is hurt, he can provide a lot of what Daniels provided to the Hawks on both ends of the floor, and that's something that the Hawks really missed when Daniels was. Anytime Daniels was hurt, the Hawks just got blown out. The point of attack defense collapsed. The connectivity on offense collapsed at the same time. And so, like, I think Devin Carter is a good, like, super sub here. I don't know if he's going to play every day, but I think he's going to get an opportunity. Um, and he'll replace a lot of what Keaton provided. He's just way better, more talented basketball player. So again, former lottery pick. I think it's a good flyer. Uh, he does some interesting stuff. He's a very good rebounder for a guard
Yeah.
in
Yep, he
particular.
is.
So
Yep.
so like I think ultimately he's going to find his way into some playing time here, and I think he'll be a net positive for the Hawks overall, especially considering at the end of the day they were paid to take him. Like he was salary dumped to the Hawks. It's a free flyer. See how he looks in camp. See how he looks over the summer. If they don't like him and they want to go in a different direction, they can always cut him for minimum cost. So I'm fine with the trade, but and he'll be interested to see how he looks in the Hawks ecosystem on both ends because I think you know the Kings are a tough situation for young basketball players in general.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
like I think the Hawks would be better environment for him if he has something. I think Quinn's system will be able to pull it out of him.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
watching him two
Oh,
years ago in summer league, and he was, I mean, just a menace on defensively. He's just an absolute menace. Like he's really, really, really good. To Tyler's point, though, the offense is like, can he 0.5? Can he move the ball? Can he cut? All those things. He plays hard, and he plays hard all the time. And that's something that I think Quinn and the front office value and appreciate about him. But it is, can he give you enough offensively to warrant him being um, you know, the 10th guy in the rotation in whatever game, whatever it might be. But he definitely brings effort a lot. And so the summer league, I'm excited that Jacob Toppin's back on the summer league team. I'm looking forward to seeing him play again. I hope he's healed and feeling well and stuff because he was really good in summer league last year.
yeah, the Devin Carter thing is like interesting because he's going to be like in the Keaton Wallace role next year, and I think he fits more of what they want in that role because it always felt like they misused Keaton. Like Keaton was a good defender and a good shooter, and they kind of wanted to make him a playmaker, and that just never panned out.
Yep. Yep.
And it's like the reverse with Sacramento because they had Devin Carter, and he's pretty good with the ball in his hands, but they had Malik Monk and Dennis Schroeder and even like DeMar DeRozan bringing the ball up sometimes, and they would stick him in the corner in these horn sets where it's like he's not a shooter. So it was like he was constantly being misused in Sacramento. He's scrambling along the baseline from corner to corner as a 6'2" guard who's not a very good shooter. And so, I think if they're going to use him in the way that they kind of forced Keaton to be used, where they want him to be, more of, okay, well, you're going to be our fill-in point guard, then I think he's going to be in a better place than he was in Sacramento. Like everything Tyler said about the defense, like he's got a freakishly long wingspan at
Yep.
like 6'9" for somebody who's or yeah, it was almost 6'8" or 6'9" or something, and he's only like 6'2" and a half. And he's the kind of player where if he's guarding a corner shooter and somebody, if there's a big trying to back somebody down that turns his back, like he's going to be on that in a second. Like if you cannot turn your back on him, he will jump that. So it's like he's really quick and he's a really good leaper that shows up in his rebounding. So, I think all in all, it's going to be an upgrade over Keaton Wallace, but to really make it work, they're going to have to figure out how to help him shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
And
gonna be honest. Keaton was bad defensively the last couple of years. So like, I think Devin Carter's just a way better defender, and so like that's going to be his value. His value is going to be in the possession game, generating steals, not turning the ball over on offense. I'm not expecting that much as a playmaker. I'm not expecting that much as an offensive engine or anything like that. He's in there for defense. He's in there for energy. He's in there for effort and toughness. Unfortunately, like I like Keaton, respect his game. Last couple of years, he was not providing that, not backed up by any impact metric that I have that showcases that he was a good defender for the Hawks these last 2 years. They need to upgrade it from that position. Uh, and like Devin Carter is a massive upgrade over that. But ultimately, I don't expect Carter to be in the regular rotation regardless. Not based on what the Hawks have done this offseason.
But it's interesting that
I
like
mean, but
all these moves, like Zubio Ejiofor and Kingston Flemings and Aaron Wiggins and Devin Carter, like all of these guys are fast. Like they're putting a
yep.
premium on speed, it seems like.
Yep, for sure, for sure. And Keaton last year he played. I mean, we had to remind ourselves he played with Luke Kennard and V. Krejci, so I feel like his defensive role was elevated beyond what it really. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
he's good on ball, he's strong on ball, but I felt like he was on the floor with guys who they never want to get switched onto the ball. And so, so in that sense, but I have no problem if Keaton's back on the roster. I mean, I would say I'm indifferent about that. It feels like that's probably not where things are
I don't
heading.
think it's going to happen.
I would
No.
say, in that sense. But I felt like until the trade deadline, he was just in a role that was too big for really what he could, handle. Love his work ethic, love his team mindedness, and all that sort of stuff. Love the teammate he is, and all that sort of stuff. But I think Carter brings just so much more impact. Like off the ball, he's like very resourceful. Really, really he jumps passing lanes. He has great timing and great feel and all those things. And that's just something like Keaton was never kind of put in a position to kind of do that. So for if Keaton can go somewhere where he's has an opportunity to kind of be in a role that's optimized for what he can actually do well, I'll root for him for sure. Right. The dude, and that's his. But Carter can play on ball and off ball and has just great timing and feel and instincts for jumping passing lanes and digging and all that stuff. And that stuff, I mean, that stuff will show up.
Yeah, with like Carter on the ball, like you don't want to switch those 1-5 pick and rolls because he's just not very big. But
Yep.
if he's out there with Landale and Landale just gives him like the smallest hedge, like if you just buy him a little bit of time, like he can recover to the ball because he's a really good athlete. Like he was playing with terrible centers in Sacramento and doing a pretty decent job of that. Like Landale will be a better center than anybody he played with. And
Yep.
so like I think it can work defensive. Well, obviously he's a good defender, but like, even for a good defender, like if you don't have a solution to like a 1-5 pick and roll, it's not going to work. But I think it can work with him and Landale together.
I agree. I'm excited to have him. And like, if there's a back to back where Nikhil needs a night off or Dyson needs a night or whatever, elevating him doesn't stress me out at all. Right? He's probably going to be the 11th guy or whatever spot we want to kind of call it once we see the whole roster. But he's a guy I trust defensively when one of the starters might need a night off here and there. I trust him defensively for sure.
Any thoughts about the summer league roster? You kind of hinted at it a little bit with Jacob Toppin.
It's a good roster. Like, I mean, I'm just excited to see him back and Jake's back, and so it's a good roster. Well, the interesting thing is that because they're playing two leagues, how many games is everyone? How many games is Fleming's going to play, and how many games are the other guys going to play, and how many games is Ace going to play? We'll see. But it's a deep roster. Brad and I are going to do our annual tradition of doing a sicko deep dive on it probably tomorrow on that. So I'm doing my research on some of the guys that are a little bit newer to me, and that so I have a couple hours of work to do to prep for that. But it's a good roster. But as again, like everybody in the background is DMing me and stuff like they're gonna go 2-2 in Vegas. I'm like, who cares? I mean, who really cares if they go 2-2 or 3-1? Who cares? 2/3 of the team just want to be done at the end of the regular, kind of format. You might have 3 or 4 teams that want to kind of push it all the way through to the championship. And thankfully, like 6 years ago or so, they uh, kind of retrofitted the playoff down to not being like 7 freaking games. So now it's like truly a shortened format. So, but we'll see how they do. But I think it'll be great to see them in Salt Lake. It'll be great to see them in Vegas, and I think it's gonna be a fun team to watch.
I mean, they've got four players who were two ways for them back, right? And
Yep, Ray
Toppin and
J and
Njai and Ray J. Dennis and
Gilbert.
John Gilbert.
yep,
And they
yep,
got Kobe Johnson back, who was sort of a two-way caliber type of player. Like
yep.
it's pretty deep. So I mean, ultimately, win-loss doesn't matter. It's more about
Reps.
do they have the right kind of team to put Kingston Flemings on the fast track? And
Agreed.
hopefully they have that. Do they have that, Tyler?
I don't care about that. I don't
You
know.
don't care about
Like
that?
the results don't matter. I'm interested in seeing Flemings. No respect to those guys you just said that they're not going to be on the roster. I,
That
hopefully they
was
do
my
well.
question, though. My question is this the roster that's going to help Flemings?
I mean, it's summer league. Like I don't
Okay.
know. it depends if they're motivated or not. So maybe if they win the first game, they'll be motivated to win the next couple. They did bring a lot of talent, but I don't care about the results, man. Like I want to see what the young guys look like. I know what Toppin and LA Njai bring. They're good. They're good players. They're good for what they are, but they don't. They're in the periphery for me. Like same with the guards. No disrespect to them. I'm really high on Fleming Zoe, and that's what matters to me. So we'll see how they look next week when they play in Utah, and then we can discuss it from there. But like I don't know. It's summer league ain't real basketball, so uh, I'm kind of more interested in what these other teams are doing around the NBA than what the Hawks are ultimately,
Okay.
because ultimately, like I think the Hawks just punted, and they're like, all right, we're gonna hold our hand here and wait to make a real move either at the deadline or next season. So that like it ultimately we can talk about the stuff on the periphery, but I think the bigger concern with the Hawks right now is just how much better the East has gotten in a very short time. The Raptors went from being a good team but flawed to possibly being the best team in the Eastern Conference and title contenders, considering they traded for one of the five best players in the sport and didn't have to give anything up to get him. I understand he's flawed, but like, and then the Miami Heat did the same thing. Like they traded some guys that are readily replaceable. Like the Heat are not going to feel the pain of not having Tyler Hero one iota this next season. And so like those two teams got a lot better. And they're probably going to continue to get better by getting some guys on the margins here. So it's going to be interesting. How do the Hawks stack up with the rest of the East, considering they're more or less bringing back the same team that they brought back last year?
So I want to ask you this then, that you want to be bigger picture here. Has the paradigm changed for big men? Because it seems like for years and years and years, you could go get a big man on the periphery. You just, you wait till the end, see who's left. You'd end up getting a quality center. Now you've got Walker Kessler on the verge of, I don't know, a $30 million contract, a $40 million annual contract. Landale just got his 14 million. Did something change? Why did it change? How is it changing? Like it feels different to me, but I don't know. Is it just a couple of flukes, or is this like a real substantive change at this point?
I mean, it's pretty black and white. If you don't have a quality NBA center, your team's getting blown out. Like it doesn't matter what the rest of the four players on the floor are. Like your team is just getting smoked, or you're not going to have it. And then come player time, you're not going to have a shot. Lakers ran into that, headlong. Come playoff time, DeAndre Ayton, when they played a real team, not the Rockets, who were killed by injuries. When they played a real team, they just had no shot. And so, like, I think the NBA, it's getting smarter. They're recognizing the value of big men. They're recognizing less the value of big men, more the value of their size in relation to rebounding. Rebounding has become probably one of the most important things that every team is trying to not be weak at. Like they want to be able to control the glass, to control the pace, and win the possession battle. So, like, I just think um, there's not that many guys out there. Like, I think teams are smart. Like, it used to be like you used to have a couple extra who didn't never played who were good, but now teams are so smart they're snatching them up. What teams don't want to happen again is Nemias Queta just sitting there, for free. Nobody picks him up. Celtics get him, and now he's one of the 10 best centers in the sport last season.
Defensively, for sure.
I was at my
Defense,
pickup game the other day and I was like, no, Kate is good. And they're like, who? I'm like, I can't
he's
help it,
so
but he's
good.
good.
Defensively,
Yeah,
defensively, he's so
defensively,
good.
he's
I
good.
mean,
He's okay
but
on offense.
that
Yeah.
that's all that matters. Like
Yeah.
that's literally that will carry. Like the Celtics were a better basketball team than they were a worse basketball team than the record and their point differential in large part because Kada provided elite rim protection and they controlled the glass within the game, so they controlled the possession battle. So then they're just winning on the margins of 3 pointers. Every team is going to copy that formula. So they're like, all right, we need big physical centers who can control the lane so that we can grab defensive rebounds and then get into our offense. I think that's why they also had to pay Landale 14 mil because teams thought Landale was bad defensively. He gets to a Hawks environment with good point of attack defenders. All of a sudden, the Hawks are elite defense for 48 minutes because they're not just leaking offensive rebounds anymore. And now everybody's like, oh, wait, Landale's a good rebounder and he can shoot threes. We gotta get this guy. Like this is a real difference maker. And so I think other teams are like, no, like if Lando had the season he had last year, I don't think the Hawks pay him 14 million. Like if he did the same thing for the Hawks last year or the year before, and this was last offseason, Hawks don't have to pay him 14 million. But because of how well Neemias Queta played, every team is looking for their Neemias Queta now. And then I mean, you see with the Trailblazers, like the Blazers were like, we're not giving up Robert Williams. He's the reason why we were good last year. Like he's the biggest reason why we were good. Probably our most impactful player. Understanding all the health risk, we think it's worth it, especially now that we traded for John Morant. So I just think teams recognize the value of good center play, not necessarily even elite now, more than they have before.
Tyler, I mean, sorry, Glenn. Let's go with that. What about Portland? What are they doing? Does this make sense for them? Like what's happening in Portland? They've got the
It
two
makes no
defensive centers. They've got Shaden Sharp and Dame Lillard and Ja Morant and
Scoot.
like what's going on
Yeah,
there?
I don't know. It sounds like they're going to play a center and forward guards like all the time. It's the Jeremy Grant's gone, so like who do they have that has size at the four? I don't know who that is anymore. But I'll tell you one thing: they work hard defensively. They work really, really, really hard defensively. Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So for me, like they said they're going to keep Drew, right? Ja's a weird fit for me. If there, I don't know how that's going to quite work out. Mike Nori is a really, really respected coach, and he took the contract I don't understand, but you get your first shot to be head coach. I guess you just take it, in that sense. But they're a fun team to watch play defensively. But how they integrate Ja is, I think Mike Nori has a large task there to get him to fit into defending hard, playing hard, like sharing the ball, being off ball. So the jaw thing is interesting to me. I want to see how that works out. I don't really understand that trade, in a large sense of the word, but we'll see how it goes. But Mike Nori is very respected around the league as having been one of the top lead assistants for like the last 10 years everywhere he's been.
Are they going to make Denny like a power forward the way
I guess
Justin Champagny is the power forward in San
point
Antonio or
forward.
something?
Yeah. I mean,
Or I'd say Julian,
just
my bad.
Champagne and San Antonio, he got paid. Like, and I think he deservedly got paid. He's really good, right? But yeah, Denny, they're going to play through Denny a lot. Denny is the driver. He's a downhill. He gets downhill, and and all that sort of stuff. But I'm just really curious to see how does Ja fit into what Mike Nori wants to run offensively, because it's going to be similar to what they did in Minnesota. And so I'm just interested to see how if they can get him to buy into the things that they're going to ask him to do. We'll see.
What do you think of Portland, Tyler?
I think I don't know, they took an interesting flyer on Ja. I It'll be interesting to see what they do with these guards here. They have a really stacked guard room now.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. They have new ownership. I don't trust their owner. I think they traded for a name that they could get for cheap. Uh, I like Ja as a person overall, but like he can't shoot, and this Blazers team has no shooting. But and like him and Dame next to each other defensively is going to be a horror show. But they should be exciting. They'll be. I think they'll get some butts and seats. I guess. I don't think Trailblazers are serious about winning, so that's why I'm kind of not interested in what they do going forward here, especially what they did with the scopes. Like it's ridiculous. Coaches union probably doesn't like them. Players union doesn't like what they've done to the staff in Portland. So like I've got no respect for that owner, and I think I think they're going to have a lot of egg on their face this upcoming season based on what they've done, which is unfortunate because they have a lot of good guys on their team. But uh, you know, there's a reason why NBA teams operate the way that they do, and I don't think this guy understands that until he gets egg on his face, which is going to happen this upcoming season. If he thinks he can get away with all these guards and expect a good outcome, like it's just not the reality of today's NBA.
Nope, he's easily now the cheapest owner in the whole league, like by far. So
It's like there's a couple of avenues for it to go right, but maybe a few more for it to go wrong. Um,
yes,
quickly here, you mentioned Miami and Toronto as like these teams that got better, and they're, certainly things that the Hawks are going to have to worry about. What do you think about Charlotte at this point? What do you think, Tyler? Like, do they have a path?
I mean, they have a future. I think that's more important. Like I think they wanted a soft culture reset here. They've been wanting to do that for the last couple of years, and so I think they believe they can replace LaMelo's impact uh, through smaller numbers. Like I think they think Kobe White plus other guys uh, can replicate what they did last year, which was win the possession battle and shoot a bunch of threes. I think they're going to try to do that again next year, and they're probably still going to be pretty good.
agreed. Yeah, they were third in 3-point volume and fifth in volume and third in percentage last year, and they just acquired more shooting. So
Yeah.
It's they're going to be, yeah, Boston Light or something like that. Okay.
yep.
Um, well, I think we'll have to do this again soon, and I appreciate you doing it. And good night, Bob.
Good
Good night,
night,
Bob.
Bob.